Well, hello, dear listeners, and welcome back to the Reforming Nerdom podcast. I am your host for this episode, Jordan Cecile, and I am joined by a very special guest. We're discussing the new Harry Potter show, and it seemed only fitting to have on the show the guy who has the most experience with the Dementors, the one and only Prison Mike, Michael Thiessen. Mike, how are you?
Am I going to get fired from my multiple other jobs by coming on this podcast? Like, I don't really love cancel culture, but it sure does at times when I enter your show make me wonder.
Prison Mike, the Dementors.
Okay.
Michael, how are you?
I'm good. I'm doing really well.
Staying out of prison? Yeah.
I am trying very much hard to stay out of prison.
That's good. That's good. Well, listeners, we're very excited to today be talking about the new Harry Potter show. We kind of teed it up last week when Ben and I were talking about it, shared a little bit of our thoughts, but Mike is a fellow Harry Potter fan. And I found this out last summer, Mike, when you and I were at the Worldview Academy together. And you had way more Harry Potter knowledge than I would have given you credit for, would have expected. You just didn't strike me as that, but yet then you were going on these like philosophical rabbit trails on Harry Potter, and it was like, oh man, this is deep. So
yeah, there's some good stuff in there.
Yeah, Nate and Ben are kind of lame when it comes to this. It seems like Ben's Star Wars, Narnia, Lord of the Rings, Nate's Lord of the Rings. I mean, we're all kind of into different things now, but neither one of them really care about Harry Potter, and Harry Potter is my favorite series, not because it's the best, not because it's the best written, not because her world building is better than anybody else's, but just because I love it. It was the series that I read when I was growing up, and then for the show to come or the movies to come out, that was huge. To be able to kind of be there for that ride as the new movies were coming out, and so now we have this new show, this HBO show coming out, which is coming out sooner than I think most people anticipated. I think originally it was projected to come out in 2027, and then it was last week or the week before, what was it, first trailer, March 25th, and they announced that it's coming out Christmas 2026. So that means this Christmas, which is much sooner than people anticipated, which is kind of cool, or not, depending on whether you care or not, Michael, on whether you're going to watch this show.
Yeah.
I guess, first
so
thing before... There's a lot, right? There's a lot to talk about. It's definitely... There are many layers to this conversation, some of which is, should this show even exist right now? Thoughts on the actual look and feel of the show, the casting, because there's definitely been a lot in the news about casting decisions in the show. So all those things I wanted to talk about, Mike, to get your thoughts on the new Harry Potter show. So for listeners, if you're not aware, this is the episode we're going to be talking about this show, which this was actually announced. I had to look some stuff up here, some facts on the show. It was originally announced on April 12th back in 2023. It is going to be released on HBO Max in Canada. I'm guessing that's going to be on Crave TV. That's kind of where the HBO stuff finds its home in Canada. So that's where it's going to be there, or on HBO Max. And this is projected to be a decade-long project. So this is big. They're treating this very similar to the way they did with Game of Thrones, and I think what Apple is thinking with the Stormlight Archive. This is their big new project. And the thoughts were, at least originally, that it was going to be each season was going to be a book. I've heard some conflicting thoughts about that. Some people saying that might not be how it is, but I'm not sure. Because if it's a decade-long project, there's only 7 books, so I'm not totally sure. And maybe it's this, that they're not going to release a season every single year, but they're going to be working on this for quite some time, which is pretty cool. The writer and showrunner is Francesca Gardner. Don't know who that is. And then it is going to be executive produced by J.K. Rowling. And they're saying that this is going to be pretty faithful to the books. And as we can see in the trailer, and what we knew before the trailer, is that's already not true. And we can get into what some of that means, but it does not seem to be true, which is also interesting because J.K. Rowling is the one, I think she has quite a bit of creative control over this show, and yet she's already making changes. So it'll be interesting, Michael, to get your thoughts on that. This so far, Warner has said that this teaser trailer became the most watched trailer in HBO or HBO Max history with 277 million views in 48 hours. And season two is already in production. Some of the notable cast members, the kids who are all in it. Nobody really will know who they were. They haven't been in much of anything except Hermione, the girl, Arabella Stanton. She is actually the voice of Hermione in the new audiobook series that they've been releasing this year. So she already has some experience being Hermione, which is kind of cool. John Lithgow
I
is
like how
being
you're pronouncing Hermione like you're Hagrid or
Hermi-
Hagrid's brother.
Hermione.
Hermione.
Hermione, right?
Hermione. Yeah.
Hermione. John Lithgow is going to be Albus Dumbledore. Then we have Janet McTeer as Professor McGonagall. Uh, Papa Essiedu as the best casting ever as Severus Snape. And then we get into guys like Nick Frost, who is from Shaun of the Dead and Hot Fuzz, which I didn't know, which is interesting. I did not actually piece that together. And then there's a bunch of other people as well. So, Mike, before we even watch the trailer, because I do want to watch the trailer and we can get your thoughts on that. First question, like, do you think that this is too soon? I mean, the last movie came out in 2011, I think. Is that right? 2011? Yeah, Deathly Hallows Part 2 came out in 2011. So we're talking about 15 years ago since the movies ended, and now we're starting a brand new project 15 years later. What do you think about the timeline?
Well, I think movie making and entertainment for the people who are involved are, that decision will have been made based upon whether or not they can sell it. So, um, you so let me start a little bit further back for fans so that they kind of know where I'm coming from. So I began the Harry Potter uh, investigation just like many other pastors did, where people were really concerned that there was this new set of literature, this new book series out that was promoting the occult, and so started looking into it from that vantage point, the way that many Christians are concerned about it, and quickly, uh, Jordan, you talked about how you were excited about it because you grew up with it. I grew up on Narnia and I grew up on Lord of the Rings, and so this was more me as an adult. But what I discovered by watching an interview with Rowling about it, and then what really got me reading the series was her commentary that this is her allegory for how the Nazis took over Germany in the Second World War. So it is the journey of totalitarian drift.
Hmm.
And once I heard her comment on that in an interview, I said, well, I'm going to give it a shake because that doesn't really sound like someone who's openly trying to promote witchcraft. That sounds like someone who's creating a literary world in order to make actually a very serious comment on world history. And I do find that to be really accurate.
Hmm.
So when you say like really helpful, like the internal dialogue of characters, the temptation of individuals to either cave to power or seek power, the battles that go on with how people are trying to handle, Neville's trying to handle things in an upfront uh you kind of on that, kind of that honest character that just is out there battling, and you see that open battle, and then you have lots of ongoing spy narrative going on. So I just have always really appreciated the series for that type of internal and I think very realistic character dialogue about what are you going to go through as a government becomes more overreaching, and what's going to be the tension points, and I find it helpful for that. So I think when you say is it the right time, like, now on one hand I don't really care in the sense of like if they've just decided to um, make a series on it. Um, like the audiobooks have just all been redone. So like on Audible, right? You can buy the audiobooks and now they've just done a new whole audio set. Have you listened to the new ones yet?
I've listened to the first part of the first one, so we have all of them. Like, I pre-ordered them, as they right when they were announced. So my daughter's been listening through them, but I listened to the first part of the first one.
So I'll ask you back. Was the new audio set too soon? Because as someone who has listened to the audiobooks, and by the way, apparently we have like a tornado coming in right now
Yes.
while I'm on my deck. So sorry if there's a little bit of background noise, but
That's all right.
um it'll just add to those who think we deserve judgment for having this conversation. Um like I'm not interested in buying the new Audible series. Are you? Like I guess you let you did it with your daughter, but like for me, like the audio side was too soon.
Mm,
Like great, like you got a good audio set. I don't need to just I don't need to rebuy this.
yeah.
So what did you feel like that was too soon?
Um, in the sense that, like, actually, so I just really like when, like, really well-produced audiobooks, and so this one just has it's probably the best produced audiobook ever made, I think, when you talk about, like, the voice acting and the characters and who the actors were. So I think they did a really great job, but they had 2 different versions of the audiobook before. I can't remember who the different narrators were, but I think it was something Fry, and then there were 2 guys, and they both, did the entire series, and both were excellent. They both did the voices really well. The thing I don't like about the new one is that the narrator is a woman, and I just find personally, uh, maybe it's just because having listened to both of the narrators in the past ones, I just prefer the narrator being a man. I just generally most of the audiobooks I listen to are male narrated, and I just prefer like I just prefer that. That's just a personal preference. There's plenty of good female narrators, but that's just a preference of mine.
Well, and hence that might lead into whether or not we feel the movies are too soon or the series is too soon to follow the movies. And that is look at it's HBO, so like I don't know, HBO is always edgy in my mind and always very uh very I'm anti HBO just for the sake of all the content that HBO has produced. Um it's a it's just a very immoral there's a lot of immoral content that HBO
Yeah.
produces. So
Yep.
I'm already concerned there. And then if you going to that comment about the female narrator, if Rowling is kind of rejigging the whole thing in order to take another stab at like the culture war or in order to um like the way that she ruined Dumbledore's character in the
Fantastic
movies
Beasts. Yep.
in Fantastic Beasts that just wasn't there at all in the books or the movies. If she's going to do that in partnership with HBO, then the answer is yeah, it's too soon. You
Yeah.
should get through the culture war, figure out your own life a little bit. I'm glad she's taken her stance on transgenderism. But as a feminist, it's a pretty inconsistent stance.
Mhm.
So I am a little bit concerned with with where she went with Fantastic Beasts and partnering with HBO. It's a little bit like I don't know when the Canadian series redid Anne of Green Gables.
Mm.
Do you remember when the
No.
Anne of
I
Green
know I know what
Gables
you're talking about, but I don't know. Yeah.
they came up with like a TV adaptation and all of a sudden Anne is this dysfunctional um there's a lot of content added, there's a lot of abuse added that weren't in the original series. So I don't know. It's
Well,
not going to be too soon for them to make money, but will it be too
yeah.
soon for them to turn fans like ourselves off if they get this wrong?
Yeah. Well,
Yeah,
and that's
probably.
where I'm torn because I think Rowling has been very vocal about her transgenderism stance, but it just shows how insane people are where her transgenderism stance is still not good. Like, it's still very pro-transgender. Like, she has no issues if somebody does it. She's, more than happy for somebody to do a thing. All she would be saying is women should have women's spaces for biological women. Men should have their space for biological men. Women should have women's sports. Don't force this on kids up until a certain age. And yet it's crazy how that is such a controversial thing and people are trying to boycott Harry Potter and they're trying to stop this. And I think it is telling how powerful the brand of Harry Potter is, where it seems to be surviving a lot of the attempts to cancel her and to cancel it. And we even saw that with the Hogwarts Legacy, the video game, ended up selling just tens of millions of copies. One of the best-selling games of a couple years ago, did excellent. So they don't seem to be fazed by it about her stance and everything. But we're seeing already where, she's already changed Dumbledore. And she's now kind of retconning it and saying, "Oh, I've always thought Dumbledore was gay." It's like, well, there was no indication whatsoever in any of the books. Now, there was no indication of him
Well, and
being
there's
heterosexual
cultural
either.
pressure. Like
Yeah, of course.
that, after all the movies came out, somebody said somewhere in the intersectional world of critical theory, someone said somewhere, you don't have any representative characters, right?
Yeah.
And so that's my primary concern. My primary concern is the books introduced a generation to the temptation and folly of totalitarian authoritarianism. It introduced an entire generation subtly to Second World War history.
Hmm.
It did that in a fairly benign way. I don't, I do wish, again, she had a stronger understanding if she's going to make a fantastical world of magic where there was, I do wish that there was a way that the difference between good and evil were better framed, kind of the way that they are within the Lord of the Rings. But there's that tension there. Like, there's good wizards and bad wizards in the Lord of the Rings, right? So, all that to say, though, if you take that same material and now it all gets framed through a critical lens, like a critical theory lens, then what you're actually going to do is completely undermine the subject matter.
Yep. And I think that's I think that's what we're going to see with in the trailer and in this show, is that there's some fundamental changes to it that change some of the foundation of this story, the world, and the characters. And the fact that she is the one in charge of it and we're seeing what we're seeing does not actually give me a ton of hope. But as we kind of discussed in the pre-show, Michael, there's certain things that you're not as perhaps concerned about as I am. And so
let's see it.
Yeah, so why don't we
I actually haven't watched this yet.
Oh, okay. All right. So listeners, if you are listening, you're not going to see it. If you are a viewer, you're going to see it. Go check it out if you have not. This is the trailer that was released just 7 days ago. So let's just make sure audio's up. Perfect. All right, here we go.
I told you. You are a normal boy. And you're going to start acting like one. You think you're something special? There is nothing special about you.
I've always wanted to know about my parents.
Your parents were the kindest, bravest people I ever met. They were funny and clever. And they stood up for what they believed was right. The next time I see you, we'll be in Hogwarts.
Mr. Potter, I think we can expect great things from you. Let's see who you are.
Are you really Harry Potter?
All right. There you have it. I'm just going to play that on loop just so we can kind of see things as we go. So, Michael, that was your first time watching it. General impressions. What do
I'm
you think?
out.
Yeah?
Not even remotely interested.
All right. Talk to me.
Done. Okay, well, like the hair cutting scene. Nowhere again, like this is a type of thing where you take a good tension and you make it borderline abuse.
But in the
And
books, like she was pretty intense about it because she hated that his hair kept growing back, right? Like I don't know if
but
that's
she never. But the books. But again, like when you take these series adaptations, when you're watching that trailer, it's like cutting his hair like that is painful. It's hurting. It's potentially very, very dangerous. It's having your hands around a child with a sharp object and spewing hatred. She was annoyed as a character by him. She was showed extreme favoritism to her son, but nowhere in the book series are you actually fearful of that character in my mind. And then like the whole thing about are you really Harry Potter, and he does the whole mind blown thing. Like I know that that's contemporizing it, but it's just not a part of the original dialogue, and it's either going to work or it won't work.
Yeah, I mean,
Hagrid seemed way too sophisticated for Hagrid.
Okay, so first off, before we get into specific characters, the thing that stands out to me, and I'd be curious what your thoughts are on it, is they seem to be trying to have a balance between familiar and new, and to me, like even the fact that they're using the same Harry Potter logo, like they're not really treading any new ground here. The house looks almost the exact same, like Privet Drive. It doesn't look any different. So, do you think that are they leaning like are you seeing the balance is too familiar or like what do you think about that? Because to me, I watch it's like man, this just doesn't feel very different. But then at the same time, is it if the movies were just so faithful to the book? I think in a lot of ways they were. Then maybe that's just is what it is. But it's just interesting how to me it doesn't look radically different. Is it different enough or not? What do you think?
I'm not a guy who needs difference. Like I'm trying to think of other series where I've really appreciated um a reboot that is like if you look at like the Nolan's Batmans,
Yeah.
like obviously that's not like near the TV shows where people are growing up and you're seeing the animated bam, but it seemed very close and like just technologically modern enough, but very close to what you're expecting Gotham City to be like. And I don't know. I don't know if you need to modernize things that she was successful in creating a world that you wanted to read and you wanted to listen to. I like again, I'm looking at the haircutting scene. I'm looking at the bully scene.
Well, the bully scene, yeah, like he was definitely, what's the word I'm looking for? Not he was bullied pretty pretty bad by Dudley and his cronies in the books. Like, and it did say that he actually like beat him up. So like I think that seems to be fairly accurate of literally like living in fear
Yeah.
of Dudley and his pals. Um, so yeah, like even right here in the trailer, we see like
But
I
is
feel
that
like that.
Dudley? Is
I
that
think that is.
Dudley, the kid?
I think I'm guessing that's Dudley
Yeah,
because
like
Dudley was
again, like
he was supposed
that's
to
a
be.
big strong kid. Dudley was a fat porter that
Yeah,
he
early on he was, yeah, and then he got healthier after he was,
yeah.
a few books in, but yeah, so, um, yeah, so I guess I didn't even think about the haircutting scene, like, to me, that actually seemed, like she was really annoyed that his she kept cutting his hair and it kept growing back, so I think that seems to me.
Yeah, but it's
Yeah.
pulling his hair, like it's hurting him. Um
So
again, this is partly maybe I'm just reacting to like, I don't think I've ever heard the word trauma more in the last I don't think I've ever heard the word trauma as much as I've heard it my whole life as I've heard it in the last 3 months.
right.
Like meaning like trauma is the new go-to lingo of experience. What's your trauma? What's your people aren't even asking what's your experience anymore. Everything's being used in this new abusive therapeutic world, and I'm just not
Yep.
sure. I don't know. That was my first impression. My first impression is I'm
Yeah.
not interested. I have to be careful about that because like I'm sure I kind of want to see it to see if it's any good, but man, it just does not look interesting right now to me.
The thing that originally when they announced this where it was appealing to me was, when you watch a movie and even though you get sometimes these movies, like even Lord of the Rings extended cuts, right? You get up to what is it, like 3.5, 4 hours in each of those. But yet you still miss things, that there's still stuff that they can't fit in. It's just not possible. And the movies were really bad for that, the Harry Potter movies. And you get to Goblet of Fire, which was like the first of the longer books, and man, it just felt like you were just rushing your way through it. It just didn't like there were so many things at the World Cup that you missed out on, and there's so much of the stuff at school that you missed out on. And so I actually think the format for this is really good because it allows you more room to breathe because there's 8 episodes. Each episode is probably going to be around an hour, 50 minutes, 50 to 60 minutes. So now you're talking about, call it 7-ish hours per season. So there's just a lot more storytelling that you can do, which I like. Um, it's just yeah. So in that sense, I'm excited about it. Um, but I'm just not confident because you just see what they're doing, just what Hollywood is doing with all of these beloved franchises, and it's just like my level of trust in them when they say faithfully adapted to the books is just okay. But whose like interpretation of faithfully adapted, right?
Well,
And
of course. And actually that's where when you first asked me the question, is it too soon? Like that's what I was struggling with in the sense of I too look forward to a series adaptation of a book. It the problem is like you just have to you need to portray the book. And so I'm happy for 8 hours of unpacking the first book.
mhm,
I'm sad when then you have to artificially create content because of your cultural moment or what you want to do. Like um I don't know.
yeah. Well,
That's my
because
first impression of it is that they're going to ruin all that storytelling and I'm going to get frustrated going, you had all this time to do this, because that's part of the joy of the books is that, her character development and is quite significant, right? Oh.
well, so that gets to let's talk about some of the casting now because that really brings up, um, I think storytelling because there are some casting choices that just fundamentally alter some of the backstory and some of the key conflict, like the relational conflict, particularly between Harry and Snape. And so, before we even get to Snape, like you mentioned, the guy who's playing Hagrid. Like that is not. He sounds far too articulate and eloquent. Even
Yeah.
like Hagrid needs to sound like he's like a gruff, barely literate Scottish guy who can like barely string a sentence because he's just called us. He needs to have, "Hey Harry," like he needs to sound borderline drunk in like not being clear. And this guy was just, I didn't like that. His look, his aesthetic, fine. Like I think they still
Well,
captured
even
the
his
physical.
look, he looked too handsome
Yeah,
for Hagrid. Like their original casting, and then this is also where you have the history of the books coming in, right? Like this is where all the audio books, like they hit Hagrid's with such specificity to what you just described, right?
mhm,
Like a big, wonderful, burly, loving man who constantly just overlooks the point.
yeah.
Certainly not pensive, certainly not, and it right there already, you're like, is that was it was it a Hagrid or Hermione doing Snow Angels in
That
the
was Hagrid.
yeah,
Yeah,
like what the heck are you talking about? Like,
yeah,
oh, the wonder. They're taking a man and they're turning him into a not man.
yeah. So
Like,
didn't love him, and so I guess even like going through the trailer, then you have Aunt Petunia. I guess I just have that in my mind. I think the casting for Aunt Petunia in the movies was just perfect. She just looked like this. Maybe she's too young. I don't know. This particular one, it's like
she's too
fine.
threatening. She's
Yeah,
too, like, again, Aunt Petunia was a jealous, overly like adoring mother. She was not a psychopath with a pair of scissors. Like
mm,
it's just not. It's too intense. It's too
yeah,
angry.
right.
It's too observant and intentional. Again, like the idea was that they neglected Harry, not that, like, I don't know.
Well, because even
How is
there's this.
Rowling ever gonna win at this? Because like
Yeah,
she's just gonna make millions of dollars, and who cares what happens to her world?
she certainly will. Okay, so we. What do you think about John Lithgow as Dumbledore?
I need to see a picture. It was too brief. It was
Okay,
too brief
just a
for
sec.
me to.
Let me find it in here in the clip. I think was he maybe closer to the end? There he is. Wait, where is it? Right there. Oh, well, there's Snape. John Lithgow as Dumbledore. What do you think?
How do I know that? Do I know that name as an actor?
30 Rock from the or Third Rock from the Sun.
Oh no! Are you kidding
Eh,
me?
yeah, he's a Yankee playing. Now, I had to look into this because I could not picture him speaking British, but apparently he was in The Crown on Netflix and
No,
does
as
a
an
s-
actor, he's probably got the chops to do it.
does a
Um,
serviceable, yeah. So that is Dumbledore. Um, I guess we'll
I'd be
see.
fine with it. He'll have to do it. He'll likely win. He's a fairly
Yeah,
likable actor and
yeah,
adaptable actor. So
yep.
yeah,
The other actors and actresses in the show, like who's McGonagall, I don't know who she is, but she actually looked the part. I thought
I don't
maybe we
know
can
if I like
see.
McGonagall. The look of her, man.
She
This
has
is
a
like,
she's like a pretty severe. She looks definitely younger
yeah.
than.
Okay, here's a question though. This is reforming nerddom.
Yeah.
Is that a crow on her head, or just an English hat?
What does that have to do with reforming nerddom?
Well, because here's the one thing that I do like about all the movies.
Hmm.
I like how the movies downplay like a classical witch attire.
Hmm.
And I thought that McGonagall was in the movies the most predominant representative of like this is not of like a historical, like that's actually the one of the things I don't like about the books. Like the book, there's two things I don't like about the books. I don't like how often Harry puts on the invisibility cloak. Like,
Hmm.
as a listener of the books and reading the books, you can visualize it, but if you were to watch it with all of those scenes with him under the invisibility cloak, it's a little bit like too much. Like Harry spends
Hmm.
half of his life under the invisibility cloak, but then McGonagall is so clearly promoting a historical view of witches with the pointy hat. I actually, if they're kind of making that even more of a downplay, I'd like that. Like maybe that's a possibility that they're upping the ante on fantasy, but downplaying the actual witchcraft. I'd like that. Like
Yeah,
even
I
his
mean,
hat,
yeah,
is more of a looks like a Quaker hat rather than a.
yeah. I do like. I think that they actually cast the kids pretty well. The kid who is playing Harry, his name is Dominic McLaughlin. I think he actually looks like a pretty convincing Harry. I think that was well cast, and even the kid who is playing Ron is Alistair Stout. This is his first big role, and then the girl who plays Hermione is that Arabella Stanton. She definitely has the hair, and she kind of I don't know. There were people who were upset because I believe that actress is mixed race. She's black, white. People were upset about that, but it's like I actually don't know if the book is super explicit the way that they are about Snape, or she was about Snape in terms of the kids. All it says was she had really thick, bushy hair. And so, anyways, I'm not, and the fact that the girl voiced the character in the audiobook, I'm not bothered by who they cast as Hermione. But it brings us to then Black Snape, which the internet has been having an absolute field day over Black Snape uh, because, well, Snape is described in the book as having very sallow skin, pale skin, hooked nose, long greasy black hair contrasted against his pale skin. It's there was no room for him to be a black character. It's arguable that Snape was the whitest character in the entire series because for some reason she described him very clearly as a Caucasian man. And then they come in and now they recast him as a black man. And so the reason why I actually really dislike this is because of the character that they chose to race swap, and I just can't help but think that this was intentional. It has to be. Is you have this now? So I think maybe Hermione as well, possibly. The actress being mixed race, the fact that now Mudblood is going to have a whole other connotation to it, right? You have this rich white kid in Draco coming and now calling this Mudblood, which does kind of sound like dirty blood, mixed skin. And so now all of a sudden there's going to be a racial tone to it, which maybe they're not going to lean into that. Maybe they will. We'll find out pretty soon or pretty quickly. But
Well,
then, right? So then you have Snape, who's now black. And so
yeah.
now you have Harry, who has this obvious tension with him, and he doesn't even know it's because Snape hated his dad. But now he's going to have this like hatred towards the one black teacher. And then there's going to be the flashbacks eventually where you see James hanging up the black kid at school, right? Or like hanging him upside down, lynching him, in so to speak, magically lynching him. And is that what they're going to do? I don't know, but they've opened up that where it's like there was no racial tension. Mudblood simply
Okay.
meant you were mixed magical blood, and they hated Snape because Snape was just a douche. But
Wait. I gotta jump
okay.
in. I gotta
Anyways,
jump in.
I go.
So you bring up a lot of really good points because if you're thinking about it, Snape was the most racist character in the books. If you're thinking about it in the sense of Mudblood, of course, representing the German hatred of the non-Aryan race, right? So
Mhm.
that's the entire comment, right? The whole book is an anti-racial book. It's a book of merit. It is a book of uh, I don't want to say it's not so much a comment on communism as far as there's no really class clash going on, but there is a clear comment that is an anti-racial sentiment. So for the reason that Snape was one of the Death Eaters, Snape was and for a long time. I actually think that this is her failing in the books. I actually do think that Snape is so evil in the books that he's beyond redemption, like the quick snap redemption. Like if he's really protecting Harry his whole life, does he have to go out of his way to be like the meanest person ever?
Mm.
And
Yeah.
then just because you found out he liked your mom, but he still ripped up a picture that had you and your dad in it and threw you and your dad to the side and then just lusted after your mom, then you name your kid his middle name after the guy. I do think that Snape was a failure as a character for her. And what I mean by that is he was a great double spy. And all he needed to do was show more repentance
Mm.
in the end, like more actual love towards Harry, like an actual acknowledgement of, like he should have actually tried to shield Harry or something from even Dumbledore's plan. Like he should have done more. They should have shown more movement, not just validated all of his bitterness and anger and
Mm.
perverted adoration of Lily Potter. It's actually one of the weirdest characters in the book. So now you take what you just said. Okay, so number one, I don't care if you recast anybody of any ethnicity. This is the theater. This is cinema. I'm not really upset about it in general because even if you live in the UK, now even living in Canada, Jordan, where you are, and here in the US, like we're Christians. We don't even believe that there are multi races. There are just people with different levels of melatonin in their body, depending on uh, previous previous ethnic segregation, either geographically or intentionally. So as Christians, like I don't care. Like I've got an Asian daughter, and if she wanted to play Little Mermaid in a play, and I'm not going to be too upset about it. I certainly wouldn't want her to be said, you can't have it just because of the color of your skin. So I think that when you come to adaptation, when you come to casting, there is a freedom within that. But to your point about this particular character and this particular character being lynched in the past, where in the books, like you said, there's nothing racial about it. It's literally James and him competing for Lily's attention. And actually, he's the most racist one.
Mm-hmm.
She actually spurs Snape's affection. So like you said, it's going to be very difficult because if they turn any of that into a racial tension, then they've completely confused the plot
Mm-hmm.
of the racial issue. Because like again, like people who read the series, you have to understand she is rightly and correctly commenting on the eugenics program of the Germans in the Second World War that was trying to eradicate people who didn't look in such a way. That is what Snape, that is specifically what Voldemort is doing in this series. He's trying to eradicate mudbloods or non-magical people. That is all a comment on racial tension, and you cannot have Snape being confused about that. He was a guilty partner, so you can't mix that up. So I do think that you are correct in that in that way. That so I think that if they stay clear away from it, meaning if the comment is still theatrically, I can pick up on the social comment against racism by just seeing these people talk about non-magical or mudblood characters. If they stay away from any type of hint on the characters, like same with Hermione, like if there's not 3 white kids laughing at Hermione for not being as white as they are, then it's not going to be a big deal. And I think you could even get away with it with Snape, where if it's like literally like he's hanging him upside down, but it's like, stay away from Lily, I love Lily, then then you might get away with it. But you are correct that if they for a second victimize Snape as being a target of racial tension or victimize Hermione about it, it totally confuses the plot.
Do you
Because again,
think
Hermione shouldn't face the comment, the metaphor is magical, non-magical,
yes.
not falling into critical
Yeah.
race theory proper.
Do you think there is any chance that they do not make it about race with Snape?
The difficulty I have with that question is I have hope. And the reason why I say that is, but again, like you laugh at that appropriately, because I think you and I have already had this conversation. Like, how many times have you and I talked about saying 3 more minutes of writing time? If you had just given me 3 minutes with that script, I could have deleted 4 lines that would have changed the entire thing. Like,
Yeah.
you know, you and I often talk about the Bourne series. Like, come on, the movies didn't even touch the best characters in those books. And so, like, how do you make a black guy racist and then put him as a victim?
No, well, that's it, right? You can't. They're not going.
But he could,
because our culture.
If the metaphor is simply magical, non-magical,
It
then
won't be, though.
you can keep the metaphor there. But if you just at all lean into that,
The
and
problem
confuse it.
is the problem is our culture right now. I mean, yes, there's a turning of the tide in some regards. Like, we're seeing cultural change happening, which is good, but still predominantly white man bad, black man good, black man innocent. He does no wrong. They're not going, like, I just don't see how they would be able to do that. And because black people, we're told anyways, can't be racist. Like, they can't be, where white people are the only ones who have the potential to be racist, is what I'm told, apparently. So I just don't.
Again, that is where this potentially could ruin the entire thing if Rowling has been the way that she got baited into queer theory.
Yep.
And then I bet you, if you're in a room with her and you're not, her book series isn't on the line, she might have regretted making Dumbledore that way. If she's been baited into critical race theory now, that's the new thing, then yeah. it's gonna make the whole thing terrible. Snape was a villain enough for me that I still think the character is gonna be, it's gonna be very hard to see, because she got him wrong. He didn't repent. He didn't say I'm sorry to the boy. They even did a better job in the movies where he said, you do have Lily's eyes. Where in the books he doesn't even say that. He just says, take it. And it's like, that's all this kid's got. And then from your memories, he's supposed to somehow honor you. So,
well, and then he does and names his kid after you.
Again, if there had been like a 3 more minute, a 3 pages on the book of reconciliation, like, even like again, even throughout the book, Snape is going to Dumbledore privately and saying, I don't like this kid. And he's like, you only see James in him. You don't see blah, blah, blah. Like, he clearly doesn't like Harry the whole time. And he's clearly only saving this boy's life because he has some weird obsession about his mother and guilt about letting her die. There's no love lost between the two of them. There was none there. And then all of a sudden he's an actual hero. Like,
see,
I don't know. That's a question for you. Did they write Snape as an anti-hero?
I think the problem is with Harry Potter, and I think you're kind of getting at one of the deficiencies of it, is that she was not a great story. Like, she was not the best writer, and not that her prose wasn't good. I think her prose was very appropriate for kids, and it developed as kids got older and read through. So, like, her actual, it's like very magically written. It's very descriptive. Like, she's the writing style was good, but in the sense of writing a cohesive story, one that makes sense and doesn't have plot holes, she really, really missed it. And Like if you go on, you can go on Pinterest or you can go on Reddit and find these different threads where people talk about Harry Potter plot holes, and man, it's just brutal. Like there's so many problems with it, and it's one of those things where I can look past it. I love it. I'm just gonna pretend that it's not there, but it brings up some of those things where, yeah, like uh, how absolutely incompetent the Ministry of Magic is, or the fact that this is a world where kids are taught about magical plants, but not anything else. Like it is, they don't actually get taught how to write. They're just assumed that they're writing, right? Like so they don't
See,
actually learn basic.
but that's where I don't mind all of that because you just can't cover everything, and
No,
that
and
is
it's fine.
okay. Okay, we're going back to Bourne for a second here because
All right.
this is a thing that I also just happen to have rewatched this series with my daughters. So like by the time you get to Bourne Legacy #4, like these like assassins, like the most important thing that they can do is make sure that they get their blood work in. Like they're sending drones up into the middle of nowhere to catch two guys' blood samples. And I'm like, that's the world. Like that like this hyper analytical, hyper uh scientific. So my point is that like it goes back to the haircutting scene. Like I get it that she didn't like him. I get it that she was annoyed by him, but nowhere does Rowling get into the scientific or the even the pastoral, like the proper feeling of abuse.
Hmm.
And I think when you dig into that, when you're trying to cross all those T's and dot all of those I's, you lose the gist of it because you're into realism. Like, war movies, I love realistic realism in war movies, but outside of that, I think you can lose a good thing for trying to make it too, I don't want to say too realistic. That's not the word I'm looking for. You understand, like her head dialogue and the internal dialogue of the characters was sufficient enough for me, where now we don't need to add all of the cultural baggage and science,
Hmm.
the academic world of make sure we include, this and that and this. So
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm okay with like the suspension. I think the expression is like the suspension of disbelief, like just pretending like I can look past inconsistencies and I can look past it doesn't need to all make total sense for me to enjoy it because I mean if you want to go to the granddaddy of fantasy, J.R.R. Tolkien, and there's an interview where he had where somebody was like, so why didn't they just get the eagles to just fly them up there right from the beginning? And his answer to that was, well, shut up. Like because it just made for a better story, and that's fine. Like, and that's where all of
yeah,
the inconsistencies of Harry Potter. It's like, and there are many. Uh, it's fine, right? It's okay. I'm okay
okay.
with it.
So and by the way, if you've read the books or you've watched the movies, the whole time you're like, where are the eagles? Are they only allowed out once a year? Like,
Yeah, yeah,
like, are they far away and a messenger had to get to them? Because they seem to be a fairly significant asset. Like they might have even been able to take the dragon. Okay, no,
yes.
that's a great point, Jordan. But here's where I'm really concerned about. Here's where I'm really concerned, and it's in the context of this conversation where I am really concerned about Rowling and this new iteration. So, number one, okay, as Christians, we have to be careful what we expose our minds to. And so she already, as a non-believer, is too neutral about the occult.
Mm.
And again, I don't really all of the spells are literally like the Latin word for the thing. Like it's not promoting real witchcraft. It's promoting a fantastical world. However, because she doesn't have the right worldview, there are things that creep in there, like the divination class and things like that, that where it's just too close to the real thing, and it's certainly portrayed as neutral.
Mm.
And I don't know how you do that as an author. She made a decision to make this world, and the world's training wizards. So I don't know. But moving to what you just said there about, like, the things that we'll allow ourselves to just enjoy the story. Like I'm listening to G.K. Chesterton's The Innocence of Father Brown. If any of your listeners have never listened to or read The Innocence of Father Brown, it's 12 stories of like the original Columbo. Okay,
Mm.
so it's written in 1911. It's brilliant. The thing about it is, like, Chesterton's a Catholic, and so he pokes some fun at Protestants and Catholics alike. But as Father Brown solves crimes, he makes these major worldview statements. Like, I was listening to one of the stories the other day, and he said something along the lines of, I was talking to a French thief, and he says, Flambeau, you can remain a partially good man, but if you continue on this path of thievery, you cannot remain so partial to darkness. Like, this is a road that leads down. It was like mind blown of, we all think of ourselves as in, like, I did so many good things today, so maybe I can just do a bad thing, or maybe if I like this one bad sin, I can stay at this level. But really, sin captures us, takes us away, leads us to death, right? My point is that Rowling's original series was powerful at moments like that. She wasn't as gifted as a Chesterton, but the conversations between the characters, there was a lot of very helpful observation of the world as it is. And if she becomes too critical race theory, if she becomes, like a critical theorist in this, all of her social comments go out the window.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I'm really scared about. She gets lost in recreating something that a, psycho, traumatic, victimized, racially charged culture wants, and she loses the original philosophical and important historical comments that she originally made.
Yeah. Well,
It would be
I
like
guess we don't.
watching Father Brown and him promote socialism rather than make really witty, snide
Yeah.
comments about it.
I guess we'll find out. We don't have much longer. I mean, Christmas, which is Harry Potter a Christmas movie, Michael?
Yes.
Would you? I would agree. I consider Harry Potter Philosopher's Stone a Christmas movie. It has a
like,
lengthy part of the book that is set in Christmas, and also there's like key parts of it in the movie, and the aesthetic at times is very Christmas. I think it's a Christmas
Christmas
movie.
is the only actual Christian holiday that's celebrated in the book.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, it's, it's bastardized a little bit. It might not be a true representation of Christmas, but there's some symbolism in there that is retained. She doesn't really touch Easter or the resurrection at all. Even Dumbledore's funeral, she doesn't bring in a minister. Like, it's fairly a consistent another world outside of Christmas. And so, like, it's like a going back to school movie too, but I agree, it has that feel. And also, don't they just release, like, isn't Christmas a great time to release movies? So aren't many movies Christmas movies now, even though you look at it and go, I don't know if that is, but you like, do we subliminally have it written in our head because it was released at Christmas that it is a Christmas movie?
Yeah. Yeah.
I watched it first indoors around a cozy fire, and therefore I want to watch it around a cozy fire. I wonder.
Yeah.
Like,
I think it'll be. I think this is a Christmas show, and I mean, we'll find out if it's worth our time. I will still watch it. I guess that's the question for you now, Michael. Will you try?
I will wait until you tell me.
Okay, because I
Like
think this is
if I have enough people say, "Hey, you know what? The trailer didn't really catch it. It's looking good. There was no content in it that really ruined it." Then, I don't know. But I doubt that that's going to happen. And so, we do have to teach ourselves to not consume everything.
Hmm.
And that's harder, I think, right now. I think actually now in the binge watching world, where you can literally binge an entire season and you can fulfill that craving for to not have to wait. I feel like it's even harder to say to people like, but you got to be really careful about that content. Will it truly be a kids movie?
yeah.
Will HBO be able to not ruin it and make it so adulty?
I don't know, and again, this is where
So much
we just have
realism.
to we just have to see because my pessimism is definitely saying these people are just trying to ruin another uh, product of the Western heritage, right? Of a product of Western art and literature that is beloved, and they just seem hell bent on ruining it. I.e., Meryl Streep being cast as Aslan, which is just, and so we're supposed to, they're just like laughing as they ruin all of these franchises and worlds that people love and adore. So I'm gonna watch it because I want it to be good, but also just as like commentary for this show. So I mean, I would say, Michael, I would appreciate if you did, so that you and I could then provide our own Christian cultural commentary to it, because it's going to be in the zeitgeist around Christmas time. People are going to want to know whether this is good. What do we think about it? And so I think it would be worthwhile for us to watch it, to be able to get provide our thoughts on it. I mean, aesthetically, it is appealing. Some people don't like kind of how dark it is. Like they've definitely gone with more muted colors instead of brighter colors, but that's just a choice. And I don't really, that doesn't bother me that it's
I
slightly
wonder if they
darker.
use the same sets. Like, I wonder if they literally just use the same
I'm
train. I wonder if they use
maybe
the same
they might have.
castle.
Yeah. My understanding is that the castle's a bit different, and I don't know if this is true, but I thought I saw somebody say they actually used inspiration from the Hogwarts Legacy video game for some of the castle elements to make it a little bit bigger, because in the video game, like, you can actually go anywhere in Hogwarts and it feels much more grand, whereas the movies, they kind of have a few different scenes or sets, right? They've got the Great Hall, they've got some of the
Yeah.
hallways, they've got the Gryffindor Tower, which actually doesn't make any sense in the movies, because you go up the tower and there's like one room for the boys and one room for the girls. And it's like, well, where do all the other kids go? Harry and Hermione, they have their dormitories, but
Yeah.
where are they? Right? So there's like little things like that in the movies where they obviously found like an actual castle where they did a lot of the filming, and then they had their own sets and everything. But I'm hoping that it feels a little bit more real and believable. And this seems to have the budget. If they're looking at this as the next Game of Thrones in their portfolio, then I think this is has the budget behind it to do some pretty cool things. So I guess we'll find out. I hope I'm wrong. I hope that they just thought that this Papa, whatever his name is just a brilliant actor, and he just was, blew everybody away with his portrayal of Snape, and cool, whatever, right? If you can just nail that character and they're just like, man, you're really like just awful, and you're really doing a great job of just being detestable and sweet, cool, like, awesome. We'll find out. We don't have that much longer, right? Well, I guess we still have
Yeah.
quite a few months, but
Yeah, I think it's possible they get away with it, but your hesitations are well taken, especially in the world of critical theory
yeah.
that's been kind of the next thing that has
Yes.
moved. Yeah.
Yeah. So, anyways, well, Michael, thank you for joining me. It's nice to
You're
be able to
welcome.
have
I hope
somebody.
neither of us get fired. It's great.
I mean, I think we're fine. We're good. Yeah, we're good. I'm not worried about it. Unless you're just worried about being prison Mike and that spreading, because I mean, we'll try to keep that on the DL. But all right, well, Mike, thank you as always for joining. Listeners, thank you so much for tuning in. Hopefully, you enjoyed the conversation. And if you have your own thoughts on the trailer, come join us over on Patreon. Come join us on Discord. Comment on the video. Comment, like, subscribe, do all the fun things. We appreciate your time. And until next time, stay nerdy.